There are truths so ancient, so spiritually coded, that they do not echo, they pulse. And if you've ever woken up and felt like the air itself was watching you, if you've ever stared at your palms and seen the letter M or that perfect crescent moon and didn't know whether to be terrified or honored, that's not coincidence. That is divine targeting. This channel isn't just another video. It's a spiritual key, a compass for the ones marked differently. You see, we're not here to entertain. We're here to unlock. And if you made it here, you didn't stumble into it. You were summoned, whispered to by a language not spoken in words, but in frequency. Because when you were born, something didn't just cry, it activated. There is a sacred lineage that lives in silence, not carried in last names or DNA, but in the symbolic etchings carved by time and divinity into flesh. The M, the moon. Chosen ones do not arrive with trumpets. They arrive cloaked in rejection, in loneliness, in confusion so dense it almost feels like punishment. Until the day they realize it was always preparation. There is power in noticing what others ignore. A chosen one sees meaning in the mundane. They don't walk into a room, they shift the air. Their energy makes the silent stare and the loud go quiet. Why? Because they don't carry regular light. They carry coded light. Light that decodes lies, rattles spiritual cages, and makes the hidden tremble. If your palms hold the M, if that crescent moon rests on your skin like it was brushed there by a cosmic painter, you are not just a person. You are a prophecy. And the reason life has felt like a weight on your back instead of wind beneath your wings is because you're carrying a truth too heavy for the average to handle. Now listen closely. This isn't going to be a list of reasons you're special, different. Before you knew how to spell destiny, you were already living it. Before you could describe intuition, you were surviving on it. And while others played by the rules of visibility and validation, you were being forged in the invisible. The number 144 appears not for coincidence, but for a calling. The ancient mystics spoke of a remnant, a sacred group of souls with spiritual coding so rare they would awaken in the middle of worldly collapse. They would not be famous. They would be foundational. These are the ones with marks on their palms, thunder in their silence, and truth in their touch. They are the mirrors that crack illusions, the carriers of cosmic justice. And if that sounds like you, then hear this. You were chosen because you wouldn't fold under the frequency you were assigned to carry. They saw you as too intense, too quiet, too sensitive, too alone. But the truth is, you were too activated. The discomfort others felt around you wasn't your fault. It was resistance to their own dormant power, reflecting back at them through you. Your light was a threat long before you realized it even existed. Let me ask you something. How many rooms have you walked into and immediately felt the energy shift before a single word was said? How many times have you been the one who says the thing that silences the noise? Not because you wanted attention, but because you felt the truth begging to be spoken. That's not intuition, that's assignment. And your journey, every betrayal, every delayed blessing, every closed door was a custom curriculum, a divine syllabus, not to punish you, but to activate you. You weren't abandoned. You were hidden until your timing became non-negotiable. Now that time has arrived. But here's what they won't tell you. Being chosen isn't about accolades or platforms. It's about pressure. It's about walking with the weight of a calling that doesn't come with applause. It's about being built in back rooms, through S. While everyone else got to grow out loud, you were growing underground, like a seed, until now. And now you rise. So I say this to the ones with crescent moons resting quietly on their hands, and the M that everyone else overlooks. You are not made to shrink. You are made to shock. You are not here to be liked. You are here to disrupt the lie. Your voice is an echo of ancient revolutions. Your silence is louder than the loudest noise they can make. You are not too much. You are the right amount of intensity for the battle you were born to win. Let this space be a sanctuary, not a stage. We are not here for claps. We are here for clarity. If you felt the shift, the pressure in your chest, the ringing in your ears at odd hours, 3:33, 4:44, 5:11, you are being synchronized. You are being summoned. You are being seen. They will call it a phase, a delusion, a coincidence. Let them. The universe doesn't clarify for the crowd. Inside right now, that's all the proof you need. You're not watching a video. You're standing in the middle of a divine message, and every second you stay, your spirit calibrates. The code you carry begins to activate, and everything they thought they buried, it begins to bloom. So breathe. Stand tall. You are the storm the prophets whispered about when they said a time would come where the truth walks not in robes, but in human skin. If you've made it this far, then you're not just curious, you're called. And before we go further, allow me to speak to you not as a voice in a video, but as a person who knows the weight of being misunderstood. I want to ask you something honest, from soul to soul. Has this message touched something in you that no one around you has ever understood? If so, I ask not as a request, but as a form of spiritual alignment, even when the silence felt like a tomb. For the ones who walk through life feeling everything, seeing everything, knowing things they were never taught. Leave a comment below, not just for engagement, but as a declaration. Tell us what kind of messages your soul is hungry for. Share the signs you've been seeing. Maybe it's numbers like 171, 313, or 888. Maybe it's dreams you can't shake. Maybe it's just a feeling you can't explain. We're not here to scroll past each other. We're here to recognize one another. You are not alone. And if this channel is anything, let it be a home for the misfit prophets, the quiet warriors, the spiritual architects disguised as outcasts. Now let's go deeper. You see, the ones with the letter M and the crescent moon, you weren't just marked, you were encoded. You're not here to chase trends. You're here to transmit frequencies that realign time. Your system is wired for authenticity, not popularity, not imitation, but inner recognition. And what you feel now, this ache, this stirring, that's your frequency aligning. They never understood why you withdrew from certain people, why certain environments drained you within minutes. But your spirit has been reading energies like Braille. And you've walked through too many rooms where the smiles were polished, but the intentions were poisoned. That wasn't paranoia. That was perception. You're not imagining it. Your presence truly does make people nervous. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you reflect what they've repressed. You expose what they hide, and that makes you a threat, even in silence. So when they rolled their eyes at your intuition, when they dismissed your visions, when they mocked your energy sensitivity, they weren't rejecting you. They were recoiling from their own unrealized selves. Because chosen ones, you remind people to survive. The M on your hand, that stands for more than just a letter. It's the mark of a messenger, a mystic, a mender. The crescent moon, that's not decoration. It's a spiritual sickle, a symbol of cycles, of endings, of rebirth. You weren't sent to just survive systems. You were born to collapse them, rewrite them, rebuild them in spirit. Your life has felt delayed because you don't follow clocks. You follow divine choreography. And divine timing never rushes. Because when you carry sacred frequencies, the stage must be cleared before you're allowed to speak. That's why certain opportunities didn't open. That's why certain people couldn't stay. Not because you were unworthy, but because they weren't aligned. And now you're starting to understand that it wasn't the world punishing you, it was your destiny protecting you. You weren't overlooked. That's evolution. You are outgrowing the timeline that tried to contain you. And those who once laughed at your silence are now unsettled by your presence. Because silence, in the hands of a chosen one, is not weakness. It is strategy. It is the stillness before the thunder. So let me say this with sacred urgency. Protect your energy. Not everyone deserves access to your frequency. Not everyone is qualified to sit at your table. You have spent years dimming, doubting, diluting just to keep others comfortable. No more. The time for self-erasure is over. You were not meant to edit yourself to be digestible. You were made to disrupt, to awaken, to recalibrate the people who thought they knew what power looked like until they met yours. And now, they're watching. They see the glow in your eyes, the fire in your voice, the peace that no storm could steal. They see the way you walk now, not as a victim, but as a vessel. They are whispering, but this time mocking. They're wondering how you got up without collapsing. They're studying your moves because they finally realize you carry something they can't fake. And even if they tried to replicate it, they'd burn under the weight of what you hold with grace. You're not just chosen, you're chosen and equipped. Because when the universe sends out spiritual specialists, it doesn't look for loud, it looks for loyal. Loyal to your truth, loyal to the mission, loyal to the voice that lives in your chest and never stopped whispering, even when the world tried to drown it out. So when you feel your palms warm up for no reason, when you hear that unexplained ringing at 4:44 in the morning, when you see that flicker in someone's eyes and instantly know they're not being real, that's your activation. That's not paranoia, that's prophecy. Chosen ones, you were born into a world that tried to erase you. But the more they pushed you down, the more the divine stamped you with symbol. You are unerasable. Still doubting? Look at your scars. Look at your survival. Look at your silence and how it spoke louder than their noise ever could. Now, are you ready to see what happens when your activation becomes unstoppable? The moment you stopped questioning your worth, the universe started answering in louder ways. The whispers became signs. The delays became redirections. And the pain, oh that pain, it became the pattern that carved your purpose. You were never here just to survive cycles. You were born to close them. The mark on your palm, the M, isn't a decoration. It's a symbol forged by divine math. A sign etched into flesh to remind the world that the greatest battles don't always come with bruises. Sometimes they arrive in silence, in isolation, in decades of being overlooked while your soul was being overbuilt. And now, they notice. But don't mistake their curiosity for compassion. They don't look at you because they care. They explain how someone who disappeared for years is now the center of conversations they never expected to hear your name in. Your crescent moon, that's not aesthetic. It's a seal, a spiritual fingerprint, a curve of light carved into you not by chance, but by cosmic agreement. Before you were even born, your path was set, but not in stone, in frequency. And those frequencies are peaking now. You're not lucky, you're aligned. You're not resilient, you're reinforced. You're not surviving, You're summoned. And the people who once rolled their eyes at your weird feelings, who scoffed at your dreams and downplayed your energy, they're now recalibrating their entire understanding of power because of you. They're quiet, not because they've changed, but because your presence no longer allows lies to breathe comfortably. Do you feel that? That tension when you enter a room? That sudden shift in energy? It's not drama, it's divine disruption. You are a walking sleeping. Your existence calls out the counterfeit in people. Not because you try, but because you are. You've become the echo of a truth they've spent their lives avoiding, and now you're unignorable. But this isn't just about vindication. It's not about proving anything. It's about remembering who you are, without the need for anyone else's memory to validate it. Because the real magic started the moment you stopped needing permission to be powerful. Chosen one. Look how far you've come. You've walked through heartbreaks that would have buried others. You've lost people you thought were permanent. You've questioned your mind, your path, your sanity. And still, you woke up and followed the pull. The sacred pull. The knowing that no matter how quiet it got around you, something inside was still loud. And that something is your truth. The world told you to shrink. You learned to stretch. The world told you to wait. You learned to walk. To remember. You remembered the call. You remembered the signs. The 144s, the 717s, the 313s. You remembered the way the air felt different when you were on the edge of breakthrough. You remembered how the ringing in your ears wasn't noise, it was navigation. You remembered the dreams, the visions, the chills down your spine that no science could explain. You remembered that you are a soul disguised as a survivor, that you are light wrapped in skin, that you are the answer to prayers people forgot they even made. And now the universe is no longer whispering, it's pointing at you. And the storm that once terrified you, now it bows when you walk. Let that settle. They tried to erase you, but you became scripture. They tried to block you, but you became blueprint. They tried to silence you, but you became signal. This isn't revenge. This is remembrance. So from this day forward, walk. It's in your bones. You feel it in your palms. You hear it in your frequency. And those symbols on your hands, they are portals. Not just to who you are, but to who you're becoming. Because this isn't even your final form. This isn't your full glow. This is just the stirring. And even now, it's loud enough to cause tremors in the lives of those who tried to contain you. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them scroll through your glow like it's an ancient mystery they can't decode. Because they'll never get it. They weren't supposed to. But we will. We, the marked, the moonlit, the mystics, we see you. We know that when your hand heats up out of nowhere, something is shifting. We know that when you wake up at 3:03 or 5:55, it's not insomnia, it's instruction. We know that your journey hasn't been normal because your purpose isn't either. So here's your invitation. Share with us below what signs have been showing up in your life lately. What? You weren't imagining things, that you were being spiritually contacted. What was the moment you realized you were one of us? Your story matters here. Your signs aren't just signs. They're breadcrumbs for the others still wandering. So write it, share it, speak it. Let the energy move through the comments like a sacred river. Because when one chosen one activates, we all shift. And for those reading this far, I want you to know something sacred. The next time you doubt yourself, the next time you forget your power, the next time you wonder if the signs were real, look at your hands. The M and the moon. They've always been telling the truth. There comes a moment in every chosen one's path when the silence becomes so loud it almost breaks you. When time stretches and nothing moves, Not your plans, not your prayers, not your promises, just stillness. And in that stillness, you start to wonder, was it all in my head? But what if I told you that very pause wasn't? Sacred positioning? You see, chosen ones aren't revealed in the spotlight. They're revealed in the delay. The delay is not denial. It is divine filtration. The space where the wrong people, the wrong motives, the wrong timing all fall away, so that when you rise, nothing can contaminate what is meant to be pure. You weren't forgotten. You were filtered. And now, what you carry is different. It's not ambition. It's not approval. It's authority. And authority doesn't ask to be seen. It simply radiates. That's why people feel you before they hear you. That's why your silence speaks louder than their bragging. That's why when you walk into a room, even those who don't know your story instinctively shift. Because real energy, sacred energy, can't be ignored. And yours was never regular. You've spent years navigating a world that pretended your gift was a glitch, that called your spiritual sight overthinking, that called your sensitivity too much, that called your unrealistic. And the irony is, the very things they mocked are the very things that now make you magnetic. You didn't change. You remembered. That's the secret. The journey isn't about becoming someone new. It's about recovering who you were before the world told you who you had to be. Look closely. The M isn't just a mark. It's a map. A map back to the self you buried under performance. A map back to the voice you silenced for survival. A map back to the truth you tucked away in fear of being too intense, too different, too awake. But you were never meant to fit. You were meant to lead. And not with ego, but with essence. Your energy doesn't enter rooms to dominate. It enters to correct. It doesn't shout. It aligns. And when people feel that, they either rise to meet it or flee from its mirror. You are not intimidating. You are activating. That's why people project on you. That's why they assign you emotions you're not feeling. That's why they react defensively, never even said out loud. Because your energy speaks even when your mouth doesn't. And here's the part many won't tell you. Some people loved you only when you didn't know who you were. They loved the version of you that second-guessed your intuition, that waited for permission, that apologized for your glow. But now that you've remembered who you are, they feel uninvited. Because they were never in love with your soul. They were in love with your shrinking. And now that you've stopped shrinking, they're retreating. Let them. Your rise was never meant to carry dead weight. And the people who left were not subtracting from your story. They were making room for the ones who can meet you on your new frequency. This elevation you're stepping into, it's not just for you. It's for those silently watching, still stuck in their forgetting. You are becoming a blueprint, not by preaching, but by becoming. And you're becoming too. That's why the solitude now feels like clarity instead of punishment. That's why when you walk away from places, surroundings give you none. When no one claps, look at your palm. When no one understands, look at your palm. When you doubt your assignment, look at your palm. The truth is right there, written not in ink, but in inheritance. Your very skin testifies. And still, you wonder, why me? Because only those who know how to carry weight in silence, only those who can transform isolation into elevation, only those who can be surrounded by storms and still become light, only those can be trusted with what you now carry. You were trusted. That's the reason for the warfare, the pressure, the delay, the misunderstanding. You were trusted, and now the universe is responding. Do you feel the shift in how people speak to you? Do you notice the sudden return of those who once disappeared? Do you see how your name is now being mentioned in rooms you never stepped into? That's not coincidence. That has become structure. Structure for others to follow. Structure for others to heal through. Structure for others to awaken beside. Because this is the most sacred truth of all. You didn't rise just to shine. You rose to remind. To remind the world that being buried doesn't mean being broken. That being hidden doesn't mean being held back. That being marked doesn't mean being mocked. It means being made. You were made for this, and not in a cliché way, in a cosmic, calculated, covenant way. The stars didn't align for you by chance. The storms didn't break around you for no reason. The numbers didn't show up repeatedly without meaning. Everything was orchestrated. And now that the symphony has started, your only task is to play your part. Loudly, boldly, softly. Carries codes, the voice carries thunder. And when the voice carries thunder, the world listens, even if it pretends not to. So walk, glow, shift, rewrite. And if anyone asks how you got here, smile gently.